Rockbeard presents 10 of the weirdest games ever. Number 1. A Christian-based game about some people in a library transformed into animals and forced to race on racetracks built by Noah and his sons, who throw exploding barrels and try to burn you with flamethrowers or rocket launchers as you race through various places, and also there are dinosaurs now. You can catapult your animal miles high through the air to come crashing through glass walls, and then you can have a dance party afterwards. You don't play this game, you experience it in the fiery depths of your soul. Number 2. Labeled as a surrealistic exploration game for the PlayStation 1, only released in Japan, it's a game they literally took from a staff member's dream journal and released as a full-fledged commercialized title, which might be the greatest thing I've ever heard. Each dream lasts about 10 minutes, and if you touch pretty much anything, you'll be transported to another dream world with minor differences from anything you've ever seen before. Sometimes you might see a grey or shadow man who glides in one direction with no walking animation. His head always tilted in your direction no matter which angle you view him from. Number 3. A 1996 non-violent mod for Doom created by Digital Cafe to promote the serial Chex. The game itself isn't weird, but what makes this strange is that such a fandom developed and it was so successful considering it was a palette swap advertising campaign for children. Even including the original Doom UI hardly changed at all, and yet this game won awards and was noted as the first ever video game included in Serial. Because of the limitations of their palette swap and desire for Doom references, bloodied bodies and twitching torsos from Doom became goo-covered cereal pieces, and twitching corpse bodies were turned into people trying to extract themselves from piles of goo. Number 4. A game developed for Japan in which the cabinet has a pair of legs and a butt sticking out that you're supposed to either spank or jab with your fingers up the butthole. You can choose between slapping or poking the ex-girlfriend to the ex-boyfriend, the gangster, mother-in-law, gold digger, child prostitute, child molester, or con artist with their reactions displayed on the screen. Once you do the deed, the machine will dispense a card that rates your sexual behavior and occasional prizes in the form of a plastic trophy pile of feces. And for some crazy reason, this game did really well and was even praised at the Tokyo Game Show in the year 2000. Number 5. A point-and-click adventure game with a ton similar to the movie Dr. Strangelove, set in the town of Harvest in 1953, about a guy called Steve suffering from amnesia. It's a super violent video game in a time when they were frowned upon. In one scene, you meet an old army guy missing the bottom half of his body, in charge of nuclear missiles aimed at the Russians, which he alone can activate with a button. And if you choose the wrong dialogue option, a video plays of him shooting you in the head and launching the nukes. You can also burn down a woman's diner and force her to commit suicide alongside her daughter. And if you can reach the end of the game, you'll find a nice piece of social commentary. Number 6. A virtual pet game for the late Sega Dreamcast, one of the few to use the microphone attachment, in which you must talk to a continually evolving creature with a human face, that of the game's producer, Yuta Saito. It'll transform from a parasite to a fish and finally into a frog, where it'll hop out of the water and outside of your care. Speaking of which, if you don't check on your little creature regularly, it'll die. And aside from checking the tank temperature or picking up the little creature, you pretty much entirely play the game by giving voice commands. And for some reason, the game is narrated by Leonard Nimoy. Number 7. Part of a series of games that were never released in the States, a parody series lampooning Gradius and other games at Konami. You're given a side-scrolling shooter ship, or a stick man riding a paper plane, or a flying penguin, and tasked with ridding the universe of random things like lips attached with robot arms holding cream dispensers, or giant dancing women, or Japanese women that shoot dancing blue rabbits at you. At the end of one of their recent games from 2010, you fight a giant robot penguin standing in front of a black hole at the far end of the galaxy, somehow standing on ice, and he can transform into a fighter jet. Because that makes sense. Number 8. Who is driving the car? A bear is driving the car. How can that be? Quite simply, a driving simulator featuring a poorly drawn bear. The object of the game is to drive around an open field, crashing into lakes and trees so that fish, berries, bees, and rocks can fall into your car through the sunroof, so your bear can eat them in order to gain the necessary girth to endure hibernation. You hibernate by driving into a cave and clicking a button. It has been called the best bear-based driving sim of all time by website Rock Paper Shotgun, and driving controls as realistic as you might imagine if a bear were driving a car by TouchArcade.com. Number 9. Less of a game and more of a playable history simulator designed to recreate the events surrounding the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy. It puts you in the role of Lee Harvey Oswald atop the Texas Book Depository, and using official forensic reports from the Warren Commission, you'll attempt to rack up the highest score by aiming with the mouse and firing 3 times, 2 misses and 1 blow to the head with a perfect score of 1,000. There was a competition in which someone scored 784 points, the closest at the time, and the shooter was awarded $10,000 for their efforts. $10,000 for shooting the president in a death simulator. Suffice to say, JFK's brother was not so impressed by the winning amount, or the game's existence for that matter. Number 10. In this PC game, you fly around as a mosquito in a couple's house, and you have to suck blood from the husband. And there's one particular part where you go into the bathroom where the wife is taking a bath. She is naked and you have to suck blood from her tit. You have to do all this without getting caught. So the main premise of the game is you're supposed to go around sucking blood so the mosquito will survive the winter ahead. It came out on the PS2 in 2001. It was originally only supposed to be released in Japan by Eidos Interactive, but they wanted a game that'd be quirky, odd, but with the fun gameplay that most other studios would shy away from publishing in the Western Hemisphere. If you suck too much blood too fast, one of the Yamada family will notice you and slap you to death, prompting a game over. Well, thank you for watching another amazing video, and please remember to hit the subscribe box for many more.